Hey everyone, today's class is all about the splits. Now you might be intimidated just hearing about that, like, oh, I feel so inflexible, how am I ever going to do this? Well, I hope to give you the tools to understand how you can one day progress into this really advanced movement. Now, when you're starting off with understanding this concept of the splits, you have to understand that it's actually a very advanced movement. In the traditional Ashtanga practice, which is my daily practice, this comes in the third series, so this is quite far into the journey into the yoga method that I practice and teach. However, there are some tips and tricks that will help you feel the openness through your hip joints and through the back that will lead you into one day experiencing the full splits. The splits in Sanskrit are called hanumanasana, which means they're the pose dedicated to Hanuman, which is a really powerful deity in the Hindu pantheon that really helps you understand how powerful, again, this wonderful practice of the splits really is. You're going to get down into the pelvis. Now, the flip side of that, traditionally in yoga, is if you open, you need to have just as much strength as you do have openness. So if you open up your pelvis and you open up your hips, you need to have such strong integrity in your core to keep everything aligned so you're not compensating, and that once that energy rises up into your pelvis, you can control it by squeezing in Mula Bandha and squeezing in Uddiyana Bandha. So it's not just loosey-goosey down there. It's really firmed and activated and directed in towards the center line. Are you ready to get started? We're going to warm up the body with the splits themselves, and our activation is going to take us right in. So we don't need to do any sun salutation or anything like that to warm up. Only if you're in a really cold place, make sure you might want to add something in like that, but I really think that these movements themselves generate so much internal heat, so much internal fire that you can start off right with them. So we're going to start off with a posture called Anjaneyasana. It's like a crescent lunge. First, start off in kind of an activated child's pose so you can feel the hip joints, and you're going to pivot down in the inner body. Then come a little forward and step the left foot forward and your right knee back. First, we're going to do this a little bit elongated, so we're just going to pause here, curl your right toes under, and we're going to stay like this for a couple breaths. Just holding here, holding the hips, sucking in the belly. Never ask your body to go to its maximum from the beginning. Don't just hit the body really hard like that. It's like you just met a friend for the first time after a little while, and you have to say, hey, how's it going? What you're feeling right now is that right hip joint, so you want to feel the right hip really opening and releasing as you sink down, down, down. Stacking the left knee over the ankle to start. Since the right knee is on the ground, it doesn't actually matter if we go a little bit further, but right now we're just focusing on letting gravity do the work. Just hold the hips and sink down inside of here. Now, in order to activate through just a little bit, you're going to pop that right knee off of the ground, take your hands into prayer, and inhale, modified version of Warrior One, because that back heel is off the ground. We'll hold for 5. 1, strengthen your right leg as much as you can. 2, sucking the belly in. 3, steady, equal breathing. The lower you sink, the deeper your splits will be after. 4, pivot through that right hip joint, really opening the right hip, releasing the right psoas. Take your hands back into prayer, right knee down. Hold it there for a moment. Suck the belly in. Don't flip out with the back, but suck it in. Then hands to the ground. Step your knees back for a moment. Switch your legs. Wiggle that right foot forward, curl the left toes under, and again, hold. So we hold here for a moment again. Don't hit your body hard, just create the space for the posture to work, and then wait for it to work. So here we are. Settle, settle down. Gravity is working on you as you strengthen the legs and keep the belly in. Then from here, just wait for it. Wait for it. Don't force, just wait. Be patient. All right? Then slowly, calmly, breathing into the inner body. Take your hands into prayer. Inhale, rise up. And then lift that back heel off the ground. We're going to stay for 5. 1, the more you strengthen your back leg, the deeper your splits are going to be as we release the front of the left hip joint. 2, 3, steady breathing. 4, hands back into prayer, sink it down. Take your hands down. Let's step back to Chaturanga. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Now, step your left foot forward, right knee down. We're going to see if we can take this a little bit deeper. Here we go. Sink a little bit back. And then from here, take your right hand forward and then reach down so you can almost lie your whole right hip on the ground. Point your right toes so we begin to feel the movement through the right hip joint. Sink it down. Now, after your right hip is down, you see how much I'm compensating by lifting the left off the ground. See if you can glide it back over so that your hips are a little bit more square. And we'll just hold this down for a few breaths. 1, 2, try to squeeze the left knee inward. 3, 4, and sink it back over to slide yourself all the way back. Switch your legs, and we're gonna do the other side. Come forward, sink it down, slide over, so your torso moves over, point your left toes and lean over to the side, and just pivot everything over for a moment, so you lean all the way over. And then use your strength to pull back into the center line, so you stack everything forward and try to move your pelvis towards the ground. We hold it for 5. 1, 2, suck the belly in, try to point your pubic bone forward. 4, squeeze the right knee towards the right shoulder, and then slowly pull it out to the side to come all the way back up. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Those upward facing dogs should be getting a little bit easier. Step the left foot forward, right knee down. Now, part of the openness and splits comes from releasing the quadriceps, which is our next movement. Send yourself down as far to the floor as you can. Keep the tailbone tucked. Then stack yourself on to your left knee. Hold it there for a moment. Bend your right leg. Reach back. Hold on to your right foot. And then reach it forward, releasing your right quadricep. So hold for 5. 1. Look down at the floor for balance. Keep holding onto your left knee. 2, 3. Make sure the foot isn't aligned with your butt, but it's just outside. 4, and 5. Gently sink it down for a moment, and then hold it again as the toes point and you settle and sink to the ground, press into your hips for a moment, keep them completely square, hold it there for a moment, and then hands to the ground, step it back, switch the legs, your right foot forward, and then sink down into the ground. Stack yourself on your knee for a moment, belly is in, don't collapse down, belly is nice and sucked in. Then to release that left quadricep, first bend the left knee, hold it right onto the base of the left big toe, spin it forward as you press that left knee into the ground, and feel my quads are a little bit tight today, I can feel it. We'll hold that for 5. 1, try to point your hips forward, try not to twist over to the side, but point forward. 2, 3, steady breathing. 4, sink into that burning sensation in your quadricep. And 5, sink it down, curl the left toes under, exhale, step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Now the hips are getting progressively more and more open. Now we might be ready to try one of the deepest versions of Anjaneyasana that we can find. So we press down into the emptiness of the pelvis. Now we're going to move into a little bit of a back bend. A little bit of back bending helps your splits because it releases the lower back. Keep the belly sucked in, and now we're going to add in a little gentle back bend. Gentle, not super deep, just gentle. All right, we're gonna start somewhere. Take your thumbs to your sacrum, push your sacrum forward and up to begin the movement called nutation. Then lift the lumbar spine up and out of the pelvis, lift the rib cage up and out of the pelvis, hands in prayer, we stay for 5. 1, 2, 3. Remember, the purpose of this is not to beat your body or to whack it out to your maximum. Just feel your body from the inside. Inhale, hands over your head. 1, 2, 3. Squeeze your elbows towards each other. 4, and hands in prayer. Inhale, keep the space in your spine. If you felt any pinching in your spine, take your hands back into prayer or come all the way up. You may have squeezed the spine down in an effort to try to go deep instead of creating the length in your spine. Let's switch the legs. Step your left foot back, right foot forward. Sink it down. Now, start off by building your foundation down, so you really press into the ground, hips are square forward, find your sacrum, tip the sacrum forward and up. From the low belly, lift it up, from the rib cage, lift it up so we create space. Then in that space, you bend, hands in prayer. 1, 2, spot overhead. 3, 4, inhale, hands over your head. 1, 2, steady breathing. 3, 4, and hands in prayer. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale down, step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Next, to step your right foot forward, pressing your left heel down. Pause for a moment. Feel your bandhas, feel your mind nice and steady. Back bends, and especially splits, really open up all the energy. You can find yourself getting a little spacey. When you do, just squeeze your mula bandha a little bit more. Send that right knee down. Then inhale, warrior one. We're gonna hold warrior one for a few moments. We're gonna take it to reverse warrior. So hold it there for a moment and then sink back through your left hip joint. And inhale, right hand over your head. Roll the left shoulder forward. For stability, we hold for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, pick it back up. Both hands up for a moment. Exhale, hands in prayer. Hands to the ground, step back. Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. We're going to switch the sides. Left foot forward, right foot back. Press down through your right hip joint. Inhale, warrior one. Hold the warrior one for a moment. This is my tighter side. Sometimes I like to stay a little longer on the tighter side. You might find that your left side was tighter. Totally fine to stay a little longer. Roll it back. Lean into the emptiness of the pelvis. Right shoulder forward, left overhead. Sink down. 1, 2. Sink into the emptiness of the pelvis. 3, 4. Steady breathing. 5. Take your arm up. Find your balance. Hands in prayer. Slowly sink it down. And exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Next thing we're going to work on is the basis of the hamstrings. So step your feet forward. Inhale, lift your chest, look up. Exhale, fold forward. Hold it there for a moment. A couple of breaths here. Nice long inhalation. Nice long exhalation. Settle down into this basic position of Uttanasana, where you're forward folding from deep within, so the hamstring is released as you begin to move into that full split, the full hanumanasana, which we're going for quite soon. Keeping the belly nice and in. Then inhale, roll your spine gently all the way up. Keeping the belly again in. We're going to move into Digasana, or sometimes known also as Warrior 3. This brings you the stability and the strength in your hips that will actually give you the access into Hanumanasana. Inhale, hands over your head. Exhale, down through the center line. Fold all the way forward. Come up onto your fingertips. The first half of Digasana. Inhale, lift your right leg. Don't fly it up in the air, but just keep it stacked. Look forward, squeeze your bandhas, suck it in, hands in prayer. Hold it there for a moment, hands straight ahead. Then hands to the side, hold it, nice and easy, and then hands right back ahead, and easy exhale all the way down. If you hold it for a little longer, it gets more difficult, but that's the beginning place for you to try that out. Take your fingertips forward, and left leg back, hold it there for a moment, spin the hip down, suck in the belly, pick your torso up, hands in prayer. If you lose your balance, just stay hands in prayer, hands forward, after hands forward, out to the side, try to keep that left hip down, so you build the strength to support your Hanumanasana. Hands forward, back to prayer, all the way down. Inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, the spine all the way up. Pause for a moment, Samastitihi. Find the bandhas. I think we're ready for our first Hanumanasana. What do you say? Inhale, hands over our head. Exhale, fold forward, go down. Inhale, lift the center of the chest. Exhale, step back. Chaturanga Dandasana, go down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. All right, this is how we're going to work the first version of Hanumanasana. You're going to step forward, place the right knee down. All right, that's what we did before. So we're getting here, we're getting comfortable. So you're going to sink down as much as you can. This time, as though you're entering that sort of lizard stretch that we did before, you pivot a little forward, then just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle until you're using your hands to keep your hips up off the ground. Lift your legs completely straight and then slowly sink down. Now, if you didn't slowly sink down, but you slowly pressed as much as you could and your hips were still elevated, you can take a blanket and put it right underneath your hips so that you have something to rest on. If your hips are settled on the ground, take your hips and push them forward. Hold that for a few breaths, reach down, hold your thigh, roll the thigh forward, hold that there so the hips are nice and square. Take your hands on the ground and then pull your torso forward and through. We're going to hold this for 5. 1, point your toes. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, to come out, lean a little bit forward, bend your knee back, And then bring it all the way back. We're gonna switch the legs just like that. Take the right knee forward, sink down. So you go down, go a little to the side, and then use that space to wiggle, 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 forward, 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 forward. Come up onto your fingertips, lift yourself high, and then point your back toes, keep it lifted high, and then settle, 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 settle into the ground. And again, if you didn't slowly settle into the ground, you can grab that blanket or a couple blankets and put them underneath your pelvis. Remember to give your body the time. Next, grab your hips, square them forward, hold it there. Suck the belly in, point your toes, keep the legs engaged, grab your thigh, roll it forward, then hands to the ground and pull your chest through. Point both of your toes. 1, point both of your feet. 2, we hold this for 5, 3, really with your abdominal muscles, you're gonna pull your pelvis as far forward as you can. So you try to avoid lifting the hips back like that. Keep yourself as square as you can. 4, pull yourself forward and through. Almost there, 1 more. 5, now to come out, curl your back toes under, pick yourself up, slide it back, all the way back. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. We're gonna do it again. This time we're gonna see if we can go for the traditional hanumanasana. This is really hard, okay? So prepare yourself. If you made it this far, you might be able to do this, all right? Otherwise, you can build up to this over a few months, maybe a few years of practice. Look forward, come up onto your right toes, and then slide your left leg all the way through. So you just slide it all the way through. If you made it this far, you might have the strength to actually go through that. Point both of your feet, square your hips forward, hands come into prayer. Now, instead of holding onto the floor, you have to do the work with the inner body. So we're gonna hold this for 5. 1, 2, 3, steady breathing. 4, use your legs. And now we're gonna fold forward to really work the hamstring. Suck the belly in and fold your torso. Over to the left, wrap around, inhale. Exhale, fold forward and really feel the inner body. Avoid flopping to the side. And if you can't fold all the way down, just wrap your legs forward. After you fold it forward, press through your legs, inhale, come up. Squeeze through your thighs so you're really separating the legs. And then inhale, hands over your head. 1, 2, don't reach back, just reach up. 3, 4, strong legs. And 5, hands back into prayer. Hold on to the hips, make sure they're nice and square. Hands to the floor. We're gonna see if we can go back, just like we went through. Curl your right toes under, pick the body up, and exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. From the downward facing, rest for a moment. We're gonna slide that right foot all the way through, come up onto the left toes, pick up your right leg, slide it through, settle down. All right, point your toes, angle them forward, tuck under the tailbone, grab your hips, move them forward, then transfer that. If you need to resettle a little bit, sometimes my thigh gets a little stuck and needs to be reached under, point your toes, transfer the work into the pelvic floor, hands in prayer. 1, steady breathing. Gaze the tip of the nose if you can. 2, 3. So it's really active with the legs. It's not just like relaxing. It's really active with the legs. 4, suck in the belly and then fold. So you turn your torso so the sternum lines up with your left knee and you try to keep the hips as level as you can. Inhale, exhale, fold into the emptiness behind your right hip joint and you're squeezing your thighs at the same time. So you're folding in, so it's really active with the legs. Then squeeze the pubic bone forward to lift your torso up. Don't collapse back, but squeeze everything in. Almost like imagine yourself leaping through the air like Hanuman. So your legs are super strong and you get the maximum reach with the legs. From that space, arms up. 1, steady breathing. 2, 3, steady breathing. 4, and hands in prayer. Keep the pelvis square. Hands to the floor. Curl your left toes under. From your power of Mula Bandha, inhale. Hips up, slide it all the way back. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Step the right foot, the left foot forward. Slowly roll your spine. We're gonna lie down just for a moment. Relax the hips. Relax your mind. That was deep work in the splits, deep work in the inner body. I hope you felt yourself getting a little bit warmer progressively and that you felt directly what I meant about that these postures themselves are the warm-up, that these postures themselves bring heat and fire and purification right into the body. Just take a moment and feel that heat coursing through your body. Let yourself breathe. Find that point of rest. Find the point of ease. Gently move the fingers and toes. Bend the knees and the elbows. Hold it in for a moment. Pull your knees into your chest. Squeeze it in, opposite direction. So your hips might feel like, what have you done to me? We've stretched you out. Thank your hips for being that open. Thank your psoas. Thank your iliacus. Thank the iliopsoas and all the inner body as you roll over to the side. And then come all the way up. Pausing here for a moment. Now, the work of hanumanasana can sometimes be frustrating, especially if you see someone, you're watching some video where there's a flexible girl doing the splits and you're trying really hard and all you feel is tightness. Now, work with that tightness. Don't fight it. Make friends with it, right? So here you are. I couldn't do the splits when I started the practice. I was super tight. I didn't really have the ability to go all the way down, and if I did, it felt like my legs were gonna fall off. So do the practice every day and be patient. Don't break your body. It's a journey. It's an inner journey. Feel yourself opening. If you're not ready for the full hanumanasana, use the blankets to keep the pelvis elevated and really spend time on the prepare. Do your work, whatever that work is, and don't let it be someone else's journey, right? Let yourself accept wherever you are in your practice, wherever you are in your body. In fact, practice thinking compassionate thoughts about yourself. Practice the attitude of being grateful for the body that you do have, for the opportunity to practice, and for the time and space to commit yourself to the inner journey of yoga. Let that be your guide. Let that be your goal every practice. Commit to the journey for a whole lifetime of practice, and you'll experience more peace and more happiness in your body, in your mind, and in your heart. Namaste.